Travel can be one of the biggest challenges on a weight mastery journey. Different time zones, unpredictable schedules, tempting foods everywhere. But what if it didn't have to derail your progress? In this episode, I talk with Mary Klukluk, who released 47 pounds over the course of a year and more, filled with lots and lots of travel. 9 traveling trips. Can you believe it? And whether she was towing her Airstream across the country, flying to a destination, or spending time with family, Mary not only shares her inspiring story of weight release and maintenance, but also the real-life doable tactics she has used to stay on track while still enjoying the journey. So if you've ever wondered how to balance travel and weight mastery, don't just take it from me. This episode is packed with wisdom, strategy, and inspiration from somebody who was releasing the weight as they were traveling. So let's dive in. Did you know that our struggle with weight doesn't start with the food on your plate or get fixed in the gym? 80% of our weight struggle is mental. That's right. The key to unlocking long-term weight release and management begins in your mind. Hi there, I'm Rita Black. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, weight loss expert, best-selling author, and the creator of the Shift Weight Mastery process. And not only have I helped thousands of people over the past 20 years achieve long-term weight mastery, I am also a former weight struggler, carb addict, and binge eater. And after 2 decades of failed diets and fad weight loss programs, I lost 40 pounds with the help of hypnosis. Not only did I release all that weight, I have kept it off for 25 years. Enter the Thin Thinking podcast, where you too will learn how to remove the mental roadblocks that keep you struggling. I'll give you the thin thinking tools, skills, and insights to help you develop the mindset you need, not only to achieve your ideal weight, but to stay there long term and live your best life. Sound good? Let's get started. Hello. Come on in and get cozy, and happy June. Where the heck did May go? I feel like, what? Where? It's June? All right. Okay. I don't know. I don't know anymore. Do you know what I mean? What a doozy of a year we have been gliding and falling and flailing through. But it's been a year, and we're still here. I'm still here. You're still here. It's summer, and I'm excited to be with you. Let's just take a nice deep breath and be in our bodies. Feel your feet on the floor or on the bed, and your bum wherever it's landed, in a chair or on a couch or a bed, or maybe you're walking while you're listening to this or driving, but wherever you happen to be, hello, we're here, and we're here now. So now let's talk. I think a lot of you are hitting the road this month or at some point this summer, and I wanted to bring on the amazing Mary. I've been watching Mary. Mary is in our membership, and she posts the most amazing pictures. Like, she does these amazing travel pictures. She'll take a picture of a beautiful bird and her Airstream and a beautiful piece of scenery, and then she'll arrange them. And so I always feel like I've gone on these journeys with Mary, even though I've been at home in my office. So she brings a lot of joy to my life. So I've been watching her on her journey of weight release, and she's been posting pictures too as she's gotten slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. So it's just such a joy to have Mary on the show today. And I wanted also, before I dive in with Mary, to hear more about her weight release and her tactics for travel, I wanted to ask you a personal favor. Would you share the podcast with one person that it would make a difference for? I know sometimes we have like shame around weight stuff, but I bet there's somebody in your life who might really benefit from a little love and a little thin thinking. Um, I've heard such heartwarming stories between like a sister who passed it along to another sister. In fact, we have twin sisters in our community who have released weight together. One started first and the other started after. So, sister to sister, mother to daughter, daughter to mother, cousin to friend, friend to friend. So, student to colleague, colleague to colleague, spread the love and thin thinking, because a lot of us just keep it hidden and in this shame spot. And the more you share, the more light you bring to it, the more light you bring to yourself. So make the world a healthier place. And thank you. I appreciate you. And now on with the show. So I will not take any longer to introduce to you to the amazing Mary. Welcome, Mary, to the Thin Thinking podcast. I've been waiting forever to have you on, and I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you, Rita. It's kind of a real honor to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I was telling Mary, everybody, that this is perfect timing because this month we're focusing on travel, and Mary has had, she has been on her weight mastery journey, which you are going to hear about in just a moment. But she did a lot of her weight release while she was traveling, not just to one place, but to many, many different trips. So I want to hear about them, and then I want to hear about her, how she did it and how you thought about it. So, Mary, but before we dive into that, please tell us just a little bit about you. I know I was hearing about you, and you have moved from Minnesota to Eastern Washington, which is very cool. But tell us about how you started, struggling with weight. Like where did you grow up, and how did that all get started for you?
I grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I think my weight struggle started more in my 20s. I may have, where I was more difficult keeping weight off or was gaining weight. And I think that's when I started the dieting things,
Mhm.
for a grapefruit diet and some kind of cleansing thing that ate soup for 5 days and those kinds of things in my mid 20s probably. And then after pregnancies, after having my children, two daughters, and um, harder to take the weight off after that.
Mm.
So that's when other diets came into play and did different things. And I would lose weight on a diet, but never maintain it, or at some point it stopped working, or I stopped whatever and gained weight and then gained more. And each decade, I think I just kind of slowly was going up the scale. And as I got older, um, it was just harder. And, to lose it, and then I would stick to a diet. They were always ones where you were watching really cutting your calories down pretty low, and I worked at exercise and things like that. But there was always deprivation in it, in the fact that you were giving something. I'm not going to eat ice cream anymore. I'm not going to, do
Right.
this. There was ones that I follow, that you're following that specific plan of eating a hard boiled egg for breakfast and this for lunch and that for dinner, and I would do those things and they would work for a while and then not. And then it just as I aged, and I think even after I moved, and I'm 69 now. I think we moved out here when I was 60, or around, I guess, because we've been here 8 years, 61. Moving too, I didn't realize it until I was thinking about it this weekend. I think I am an emotional eater, or was an emotional
Mhm.
eater. And I think that kicked in when I moved, because I left all my friends and my social contacts there. And as much as this trip, or our move, has been so wonderful for my husband and I, there's been no regrets. We have been so happy, and being with our family and our grandchildren and all of that, it's been such a blessing. But I think that fed into maybe my weight gain during those years, because I really was gaining a weight to where prior to finding the shift, I was at my highest weight I've ever been. And so
Okay.
and I realized it was those last 10 years or so that I was really struggling and trying. Went back to tracking at one time. Right a year before I found the shift, I was tracking again because it had worked for me before. But it became, I don't know what was different, but I was so ended up so focused on food and thinking about food all the time that it just
Right.
wasn't working. I just something just kind of a frenzy, and I just tossed it aside and decided I just have to stop dieting. I'm broken. Everything's wrong with me. And I was really at my lowest point that I can remember before I found Shift, as far as feeling so depleted about myself and so broken with struggling with my weight and just not, why can't I do this? You know?
Right. And I mean, I think a lot of people can resonate with that. And I also think now being in my 60s myself and knowing measuring many, many metabolisms of people in their 60s, it's harder because our metabolism does go, it does not stop. We do still have a metabolism, but it's just like whatever we thought we could do in our 30s or our 40s, I won't say relatively easily, but I would just say even just trying to lose a couple of pounds feels harder than um, when we were younger. But what can I ask? Had you ever done any sort of hypnosis or meditation or anything before the shift weight mastery process?
Not really, no hypnosis. I did go on a mindful retreat in Oregon for, I think it was 3 days, and
Oh,
where
cool.
we did some different things there, and I guess some meditation. But I remember mindful eating was kind of was part of it. So when we ate our meals, we ate in silence, but we were really focusing on, when I'm full, do I need more? You know, the things,
Mhm.
that kind of approach, and that um, I tried to do that afterwards. It was hard to maintain outside of that setting, but that always struck me as a real important piece that I just didn't know how to do it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. So during the shift process, what was your experience like? What did you think of hypnosis? I mean,
well, okay, when I found the shift, I watched or attended what was it, the mastery course,
yeah,
whatever,
like the free master class.
pre-mastery class. And hypnosis that you did then, I remember, I don't remember what it was, but I remember crying during it. I remember just
Mm,
really releasing some emotions. And whatever it was, I know that making the decision that this is what I'm gonna do, or I'm gonna bite the bullet, I'm gonna sign up and I'm gonna take your course. There was something with that, with the mindfulness part of it and the meditation, that I felt was something that would help me. That I was pretty hopeless at that time too, and not really thinking that this was really going to work or anything. But I
right.
I wanted, it just touched my heart somehow to know that I was going to do it. I would learn something from it, and I could do it for 30 days, kind of thing. And with the meditations, once I started, I didn't easily find a vision in the sense of
Mm,
a clear picture of what we're looking, but I could feel things, how I wanted to feel, how I could feel
mm.
lighter, feeling thinner, having more energy, things like that, through that process. And I usually fall asleep often enough through hypnosis, even when I'm sitting in a chair, or I wake up at the end of it, or I kind of come awake, kind of going, well, I think I was awake, but I got so, you know, and I assume because of how the whole course and process went, it had to be working because of how I just evolved. And my inner coach, even though I thought recently that she was quiet, I don't think she has ever been. I think it's just that quiet voice that always been in my head. I just wasn't acknowledging that that's who she was, you know.
Oh,
Well, that's so cool. You said something that made me think about, well, it will come back to me, but I love that you uh, enjoy the hypnosis, and many people are perplexed. Like, I feel like I'm falling asleep, but it seems to be working, and that often is. It always tickles me. Well, it doesn't tickle me. I'm just always bemused by the fact that, and I understand fully that hypnosis is one of these states that it feels elusive. Like, am I in hypnosis? Am I not? But the idea is the process of opening up your mind and being in a relaxed state. And I think the more hypnosis you do, the more your mind opens up more quickly. It is an interesting state, and I'm still, all these years later, still explaining this to people and trying to find the best way to describe it, and it's just almost indescribable. um
Yeah.
so I know you've released 47 pounds and you've been maintaining now for 6 weeks, so congratulations, that's awesome. I know, if for those of you who don't know Mary, she's in our membership too. And Mary makes the most beautiful, she lives in a very beautiful part of the world, Eastern Washington. She takes beautiful nature photos and puts them together in these gorgeous collages. She takes gorgeous pictures of her breakfast sometimes and posts them because you're very creative. Obviously, very, very creative person. Um, how did you find, like, and you seem to have put weight release and mastery into the creative part of your brain. Like, you've approached this very creatively. And um, I mean, would you say so? I mean, like, even the way you make breakfast and the way you kind of explore new ways of cooking, or new why, was that helpful for you? Or, you know, what was that like? I don't mean to, like, I know that wasn't like a question, but I did think that you are so creative, and you were a designer, right? Or you are a designer of sorts. You know?
Well, I was professionally, I was a deaf hard of hearing teacher was my profession before I retired.
Oh,
And there's some,
wow.
creativity with that, I guess, in teaching. But I right now for my craft, I make homemade cards and have really gotten into that since I've retired. And I enjoy designing those. I make cards for all my family and friends that way, and personalize them, send out birthday cards, Christmas cards, and I'm just learning new techniques of how to, um, color my paper, or different things related to card making. So I think I never thought of myself as a creative person, but other people have told me that I am, so I must be. um, I just I have I like I also got into photography since I retired. My husband, I used to do grandma daycare for my kids. Once we moved here, um, I spent 4.5 years doing that, where I lived in Olympia during the week and I came home on the 3-day weekends.
Oh,
I
wow.
did that for 4.5 years. It started when my grandson was born, and I did that. And then when Adeline, my granddaughter, came along 2 years later, I continued to do that. My choice, and the whole family cooperation with I ended up living with my daughter and my son-in-law during the week and came home for vacation home. My daughter called it, on the weekends for a break. And then I fully retired after that, after 4.5 years. So kind of lost my train of thought, but I know that just, I guess I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. I think you were kind of weaving it into this idea of being creative and starting your new, like, after you fully
Photography.
retired, you were able to get into photography and, right.
As, yeah, yeah, that was as a gift after I retired. My husband bought me a camera after I retired from
Oh,
my daycare, because I had mentioned one day we have beautiful birds around. And I thought, I really wish we had a camera that could zoom in and take those kind of photos. And he surprised me after I retired from grandma daycare with this gorgeous camera that I have been playing with and enjoying since then. So that's how it evolved into my little creative, little picture things that I post. So when I brought that in, that's one of my joys in life. And so I think I thought of through the shift of um, staying positive. And I think, the shift helps us love ourselves down the scale. And I think with that meditation, with the hypnosis, with some of the things we've done with loving parts of our body that we don't always feel positive about, and keeping that, I think that helped my positive attitude and that all come out that way. So I brought in other things that bring me joy into the shift too. I think
I love that. And I think as you shift or as one shifts because you are, you know, turn all the things you said, Mary, turning up that volume on your inner coach, loving yourself down the scale, it engages you in other things. I mean, we become, weight loss becomes such a hobby of our lives, because when we're struggling, we're so obsessed that when you're freed up from that, you get to enrich your life with other things that you maybe, were either too didn't believe in yourself enough to pursue, or you have more time and space in your head to engage in those things now, and now that you are kind of on this journey of granting yourself permission to be your best self, really.
yeah.
Um, so that's so cool. I love it. And your pictures are very beautiful. And you take a lot of pictures on the road. So I want to tell you guys now. So Mary, how many trips did you sent me a list of like 9 trips you were on as you were releasing 47 pounds, right? Like, and these are all different trips.
Yes.
I love it. And because when you first came into our community, our membership, did you guys had you just bought an Airstream, or did you have an Airstream all along and you just said, "Oh, my husband and I are heading, I think you were heading to Arizona or somewhere in the desert
Yep, that
and
was,
on your Airstream."
we bought the Airstream in 2022,
Okay.
that fall. So we had just had it the first year and had been out with it maybe twice. And then I joined the shift in the fall of 2023. So
Okay.
our next year of really getting out more and planning longer trips, different places, was kind of the start of our journey that way.
Did you
So
guys sit down and figure out, like, did you have a master plan of all the places you wanted to visit, or were you like, "Oh, we feel like going to Florida now, let's just get in the Airstream and go." I know you have flown
to Florida.
places as well as like
Uh, we um we sat down and talked about we knew we wanted to travel in our retirement, and we wanted to travel now at our ages. When Back in 2022, when I was done with the grandma daycare gig, and then we talked about how we were going to do that, and decided that we wanted to do it with an RV. So we picked out our Airstream. Husband picked out a truck to be able to pull it, and we got rigged up to go. So that's how we started. And then during that year, we decided too that winter here we like to get a break in and out just away for a little bit, and decided that now we would add some flying trips in too, because like going to Florida, it's too far to pull an Airstream, and wintertime traveling is a little risky, you know.
Mm.
Just
Yeah.
getting out of here, which we were fine this year when we went, but traveling by Airstream in February and March around here, getting through the pass we have to go through to get anywhere, like getting into Seattle, we go through Snoqualmie Pass, and it can be closed and snowing enough that you don't want to be pulling anything, let alone driving through it. So then we've balanced it out where we take a balance of getting our Airstream out at least twice a year, if not 3 trips, and then maybe a couple other trips for wherever we want to go.
Very cool.
We like
So when you, I'm
so
sorry.
national parks was on our list for our Airstreams. Not any particular ones, but just when we traveled, we kind of keep that in mind as to what we might want
Oh,
to do while we're there.
that is really cool. And Airstream is so classic. It sounds like a lot of fun. Um, So now when you started the shift in 2023 and you had 47 pounds to release and you were going on these trips, were you concerned about traveling? Like, how did you, because for our audience members who are like, how do I travel? Because I get this question all the time. How do I travel? I'm going on a road trip. How do I not, you know, get the snack food? How do I like were you apprehensive about it, or did you feel fairly confident from the beginning about it? Like heading out on your first road trip?
The first time we went, it would have been January, or yeah, middle of January. We flew to Florida, so I had already been in the shift, through the course, and already started through the shifting that whole fall. So about 3 to almost 4 months of having established my home routine of how I eat, all of those things. So I wasn't, I wasn't worried about it. I really spent some time thinking about it, how I wanted it to go, what I needed to do to. I had the goal of maintaining when I was traveling, so how I was going to do that, and I had decided um, that I was going to, not bring my scale, either scale. I weigh myself every day when I'm home, but I really thought of the shift, and it through the shift, I really had the mindset that this is my life journey. The skills that I'm learning and practicing, I'm doing the rest of my life. So when I looked at going to Florida, I was like, well, yes, the scales are helpful tools. I wanted to kind of go with the focus of staying mindful and taking those other skills along with me to portion control and keeping my balance. I knew what I normally eat in a day, what I need to have, and then setting up my environment so that could happen for the most part. And I wanted to
Right.
go with that plan initially, and and be the scientist to say, okay, how, and do it that way and see what happened. And I was
Okay.
successful with the first trip, which and I released a pound during that first trip. That just gave me more positive reinforcement and confidence, I guess, for the next one coming up on how to handle it.
Right. So I'm hearing some themes here. I'm hearing you thought things ahead. You thought things through because you had sort of your grounding in the skills of weight mastery, which those of you who have not done the shift weight mastery process, it's really skill based, like internally growing the skills of weight mastery. So you kind of had the idea of the skills that you were going to focus on during your travel because you can't, those were the things that were going to be your touchstones or your pillars. And if audience members had listened to my own travels, that is something I do too. I'm not like focusing on every single because when you're traveling, it's not just about weight management, it's about being where you are and being with people and seeing the sights, and but that you can, if you just kind of are mindful enough to focus on a few key things, everything seems to falls into place underneath it. So what I'm hearing is you managed your environment, meaning for the most part, you kept things coming into your environment that were healthy choices. And I know when you were telling me that when you stayed at Airbnb, like you would do your grocery shopping and make sure you had healthy choices. Um, and then it sounds like you were exercising and also, maybe not different every day moving, but uh, you were mindful of, how much, that you had already kind of figured out how much do I need to eat in order to release weight, and you kind of were mindful of that amount. You had an intuitive sense of like how much that was, so you weren't like super tracking, but you were just on top of like, okay, I know I can eat this for breakfast, I can have this much for lunch, that kind of a thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I went in with my grocery list when we got there, and we checked out our place first to see what was there in the kitchen, and then we ran to the store. And I had my husband and I both had our list of how we were going to eat because we wanted to go out and do things and just come home for dinner at night and make easy meals. So, bought my salads and all my veggies, and I really focused on also protecting my zero. And so normally when we travel and we go hiking, we skip lunch. Husband doesn't feel
Mm,
like eating, so therefore I didn't. And that was something I told him going in, that I would be packing a lunch with me every day when we went out. And so I bought foods that I made sandwiches. And either had peanut butter or like a turkey sandwich or something, and some veggies or an apple. so that I would eat. I used to eating my breakfast, a little lunch, and my dinner, and I try to stay balanced with that same plan when I was traveling. And I carry protein bars and things like that in case I needed something um, that would come up if we got home later or something like that. So
Okay, cool. I'm glad you brought up protecting your zero because again, a lot of people might not know what that is. And we find that when we allow ourselves to get too hungry, our blood sugar gets too low, then it can, like if Mary hadn't eaten all day and then she came home to eat dinner, she might overeat dinner or start making snacking on things before dinner. And so protecting your zero is really making sure you don't get that so hungry that your blood sugar tanks because it takes a long time for your blood sugar to re-regulate. And in that time, we can really overconsume a lot of food. So I'm glad to hear that you did that. You took care of yourself in that way. Do you and your husband eat the same meals or do you guys eat separately? Like what it, because I'm sure everybody's like, well, he got his food, she got hers. Um,
we pretty much the same. I mean, we eat dinner together most nights. If we have leftovers, I might have what I want and he'll have what he wants from the fridge. But typically we eat, a dinner or breakfast and lunch. We eat different things. He starts
uh-huh.
with waffles, syrup, and lots of butter, and I have my yogurt and granola or my eggs and which is my favorite, and he'll have an egg, but not a vegetable on his plate, but
Right.
so we do that way. But we eat similar foods and enjoy similar foods. We tend to eat dinner together. We cook together. I might eat a salad, and he won't, but we eat our main dish together. I might tweak mine if I make spaghetti or something at home. I might sometimes have it with the pasta that I make, or I might do zucchini noodles and serve mine that way. Just make my own variety, but we eat similar foods. Breakfast and lunch we kind of just eat on our own or go our own ways home. And traveling we'll eat together. But he shared my little piece of sandwiches when I was traveling in Florida, which was funny because he normally doesn't eat, but I'll have a bite. So it works that way. But he is into like in Florida, he found a bakery that was nearby, so he went out every morning and bought in pastry and or desserts for dinner. And I can leave that alone because I'm just used to that. That's what he does. And but I did enjoy one of the croissants or part of one morning, and I planned for that. And then one of the nights I did the 3-bite roll, and I had a piece of some chocolate dessert type thing that he said, Mary, I left this for you if you want it. And I said, yeah, I think I will enjoy a little bit of it. And I did.
Oh,
And the 3-bite rule is another one that I love because I get to enjoy the different things that are around or out and about, to
yeah.
taste something. I only need 3 to 4 bites and I truly am satisfied with that.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's a great traveling technique. And if you don't know what that is, it's just the idea that after 3 bites of something, our mouth experience really declines a lot. So if you really take advantage of those first 3 bites, that's all you really need. So that is really great for travel. Um, where did you go after Florida? Like, so for that first, how long did it take you to release the 47 pounds, Mary? Like a year?
19,
18
19
months, yeah, like I wanted to say a year and a half. Okay. So and in that you did like 9 trips, right? I think the list was 9.
was. I don't
You
normally
guys
travel
are
that much, but I did that particular season or whatever was like, wow, just things came up that opportunities arose and I jumped on them. Um, so yeah.
is there something different from like the Airstream for our listeners who are also like recreational vehicle or Airstream bound or like was there other challenges like being on the road itself versus like staying in a condo, in Florida?
Um, Not really. I think they're just different. I mean, in Florida, our trips too, we went out snorkeling twice. We visited 2 national parks while we were in Florida. So
Oh
we
wow.
were active. There were most of our trips with my husband are we're out and about doing things during the day, and that's what we both want to do. and sightseeing. We were in the Florida Keys and we had never been there before, so we explored that. And I also swam at the pool. We had a heated pool, so on the days that we were going to kind of lay low and take a break, I went in the pool. It was wonderful. So traveling in the Airstream, you pack it the way you want it. So we brought our foods, and the thing was, the road trips traveling get long for sitting and not getting your steps in. So, but I would also pack ahead of we'd go on the road, we'd spend the night. I'd make my lunch for the next morning and have it ready for me, so that when we did stop to get gas or take a break at a rest stop, I could go in and grab what I needed to have for my lunch. And sometimes we took a break and ate, at a picnic table or something. Usually my husband wanted to keep driving, so then I'd eat in the car. So I managed it that way. And the other thing with traveling on a road trip that I did was every wayside rest we stopped at, I got out and did laps. After I went to the restroom, I walked the long way back, and I told my husband, I'm doing one more, and would get my steps in. I mean, one day I got 10,000 steps in just sitting in the car and driving all day. But every time we got out, even at the gas station, I would walk around our vehicle. If it was busy, I would just, as he's filling up with gas, I would just do loops around our vehicles and go back the other way. And he'd be laughing at me, get my steps in. And I never would have done that before, but now it's like a thing. It's like, get out and move.
Yeah. Well, that
It was
is so
easy,
smart
but
too, just not even from a weight management perspective, but just from, sitting is the new smoking. So just moving your body, moving your blood, keeping your energy up over the course of the day
yeah.
and keeping all your muscles and bones greased, I guess. But yeah, that's a really good tactic. Um, so we have the 3-bite rule, we have protect your zero, we have walking and like if you're a rest stop, walk around, keep moving. It sounds like you guys are very active. Where was the most interesting place in the United States that you visited, being from
Mhm.
Minnesota and living in Eastern Washington? Or is it all interesting?
It's all of the trips have been fun for different reasons. And there's so much beauty. The national parks and all of the ones that we saw, that one year I do a Christmas card, and I listed, I usually have a word for my year, and I make some kind of, what do you call it, anagram or something with it. But that year, I think we went to 10 national parks that we saw with that trip. It was, but we drove, when we drove, we went to Joshua Tree on our
Yeah.
way. And then Tucson, we hit the Grand Canyon, and we spent some time in Sedona. We did Petrified Forest National Park,
Oh, wow.
and then came back home through what was it, the desert on the oh shoot, Death Valley. That was amazing. All of them
That
just
is
such
so cool
amazing
there.
to see in their own unique way.
Yes,
Just to experience all of that was just really, really fun, And
that
we
is.
like to be out and just out in that fresh air, and just good for both of our bodies. We just really enjoyed our time together doing that.
Sounds amazing. Now you mentioned staying at other people's homes, like you stayed at some family along the way. I'm sure some of our listeners would be very curious to hear like how you manage, being in somebody else's environment. Like how would you negotiate those situations for yourself?
Um, First trip I went on, I went back to, or one of the trips during my weight release, I went back for a trip to Minnesota where I was going to be with my brothers. I have 6 brothers, and they go on an annual fishing trip, and I was going to join them. So I spent a week with them at the lake. But I called one of my brothers ahead of time to find out what they bring for food, what would be there. And talked to 2 of my brothers. One of my brothers was at that time also on my support team, so he knew part of what I was working through. and they shopped for me because I knew I had a guess that there weren't going to be a lot of vegetables up at the cabin, and I
Right.
was right. But I gave them my list, and they bought what I needed, so I had my.
Oh,
They're very loving and very sweet, and all of my brothers. I mean, I knew there'd be protein because they all are more on a keto diet if they're dieting, and so
right.
I knew I'd not have to worry about protein, but it was getting my veggies in. Well, I love my veggies, so it's like I need to have them. I'm not going to survive a week without a vegetable.
Right. Yeah,
So
I'm with you there. Yeah.
they did that for me, and then when I stay they're at family, and we're comfortable enough where I can go in their fridge, and I called my brother called me ahead too, going, "What do you want to have?" With things, knowing I was coming off a late night flight this last trip I was on this last week. And I said, I'm okay with what you're having for breakfast. You got any vegetables though to have for lunch? Because he doesn't eat lunch. And they had their fridges, fairly stocked with food that I could find something. And
Okay.
I think they're I could stay away from the gacky food, I guess, because I guess I stayed mindful in that to know that I'm not going to start. And if I did, I mindfully took my serving and
Do
walked
you,
away.
on trips like that, think it all through ahead of time? Not every
Yeah,
meal through, but just think about like, I want to come back. You have a kind of a goal in mind and you get your mind sort of conditioned before you go.
every trip. I'd say I
Yeah.
did every trip. And it didn't take me a lot of time. I, I guess I didn't start early enough too to really not just the day before I'm packing. I looked at it then, but I already am going on a trip in July that I'm starting to think about already as to how I'm going to maneuver that one because I'm going on a cruise and
Oh,
I won't have my environment set up for success. I mean, and I'm not worried about it because I know there's going to be food I will be able to eat, but I'm already, I guess, starting to think about how I want that to go and how
yeah.
what my options are, what tools I want to, I feel like I carry around with the shift a bag of being a teacher. I had a bag of toys that I carried when I was teaching that I feel like I have my bag of all those skills or the little tool things that I can draw from. And it's just a
Yeah. I love
mind,
that.
but
That's a great
that's
metaphor.
it's kind of like, well, what am I going to pack in my bag that I want to bring with me to this environment? Because I
Yeah.
know I have the skills and trusting myself and being okay knowing it's not going to be perfect. I don't
Yeah.
I I go to point to have fun. I did
Yeah.
party. I don't,
Yeah.
don't
It's
I
not about deprivation. It's
oh
about making it work for you, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
I
yeah.
imagine the cruise will be lots of 3 bites, Mary.
I got a feeling, yes. I think we're going on a small cruise in Alaska, so we're gonna be doing hiking and kayaking
Ooh,
and things like that. So it's supposed to be. We have to reread. We signed up for it a year ago, so I kind of forget what we're supposed to do. But I know we're out and about, so I'll be getting exercise in. And exercise is something that I thought about even with my trips at my brother's house recently. Went for walks. I went biking with my brother. He took me biking one day, and each day, I think just one day I missed, but I tried to stay at least get out for an evening walk. Or one day I spent with my brother. He was working at home, and I would just leave for a while and go for a walk, 2 miles, come back and visit. And I said, I'm going to go take another break and just get my body just wants to move. And so I kind of plan that out and think that through how I'm going to do that or how I
mhm,
might be able to do that in that given time frame. And then there's times that it's okay. No, I
right.
did get it in, you know.
How about maintenance? So I know you've been maintaining now 6 weeks. Has that been hard to negotiate or transition into, or do you feel like you've kind of, it sounds like you've really got this, the tools down, the skills down, but were you concerned about maintaining your weight?
I wasn't. I'm still not. I'm wondering why I'm not. After the maintenance meeting, I was kind of like, I'm got to be ready for the lion that's going to attack me. But I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I know that there'll more than likely be bumps in my road or something, you know. I feel pretty confident right now that I have the tools and my support team behind me to continue going. Like I said, it's been a life learning life skills that I just kind of keep every day doing. I don't, you know,
Yeah.
and if I go off track, I know how to get back on track. You know, I
Yeah.
spent a fair amount of time up at my daughter's doing grandma daycare, even now that I'm retired, but I help out at spring break and winter breaks and things. So I go live with them for a week at a time and
Oh,
in the
wow.
time. And I probably during my journey of weight release, I've been up there about 10 total of 10 weeks and learn to manage that environment too. Has given me practice. So I'm not really worried about it. And I guess too with the support team that I have and your the monthly mastery things, that just keeps me going that I feel kind of excited about what's
So
ahead.
cool. I think it sounds like it's not, there's that transition time where it's not something you're doing, it's who you're being. And it's just something you are. Like it just feels like your lifestyle now that you created a lifestyle that allows you to live at your ideal weight, which is ultimately our goal. So it's so cool to hear how and how support is a really big piece of this for you. I can hear how your husband supports you and your kids support you and your family supports you. That's really a key, I think. Um, I have one last question, Mary, and thank you. This has been so great. For somebody just starting out, just or not just starting out, for somebody who's struggling and thinking, oh, I can't, like I'm in a bad place. What would be the first, like what would you say to them? What they and this isn't a plug for the shift program. This is more about just like where are they and what would you say the first thing they want to consider or that first step forward?
For people who are starting the shift or people
Oh
who
no,
are
no, not starting the shift, but just struggling, like just struggling with themselves, struggling with weight.
um oh boy, I think finding something that in I mean, I guess I would I would say please sign up for the shift,
Oh,
but I think just in you know knowing that it's possible. We're not our bodies aren't broken. There are things out there um, to help us figure out what we need. Um, in
that's a very good thing to say, Mary. Nobody's because I asked this at the end of all of my interviews. And that's a very important thing for people to know that your body isn't broken. I mean, I think everybody who struggles with weight thinks their body is broken.
yeah.
That's that's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, that you can figure it out for yourself. We give so much of our power away when we diet to diets and then we feel like a failure, but when you start bringing it home and what you described, Mary, is you just really took back your power and started using the tools and now you've evolved something. And I think that it's an evolution internally that makes all the difference.
Mhm.
So thank you so much. This has been so helpful and uh, I loved hearing about all of your travels too. That's so great. How many more national parks do you guys have left to find or go through, explore?
I don't know. We have been through Utah. I have seen some traveled with
Oh,
time on a road trip, but Utah is next on our list to hit that whole group. There are parts of them or something that
yes.
sometime in the near future we're planning that one. But
That one is super. I was shocked when we had to drive my son to Denver from Los Angeles, and we had spent many years traveling up to Utah because my in-laws were living there for a while, up I don't even, it's the 15 corridor, I think, and through Las Vegas and then on up through Utah. But we went up to go cut across Utah to go to Colorado, and that road goes through some crazy. national parks and oh my gosh. And it was just like every time you turned the corner, there was just a completely different geography, and it was breathtaking, unbelievable. So I'm very excited for you guys. Are you guys going to go to the east and do any national parks, Dakota, all those places? I know they feel like a lot of them are in the west,
Yeah,
but
I don't know. That's debatable. If we pulling our Airstream that far, I'm not excited about it unless we make a lot of stops and special
uh
places along the way. And my husband's one to get there and come back,
sounds typical man.
which is great. So we might be flying to those. Right now,
Uh-huh.
I think we've talked too. There's just so many things just around where we live to go
Mhm.
camp, get out. This this fall we're going over. His brother lives in Brennan, and we're going to do a loop over to the coast and go down the Washington coast. So we have a
Oh,
big trip just staying in that area and enjoying the fall weather and coastline of Washington this fall.
yeah. It's
So
it's magnificent. Oh wow, that will be great. Well, I really admire you and your travels, and I'm glad we still have you to continue to educate us. And I feel like I travel through you and your beautiful collages. It's great. Well, thank you so much, Mary, for being on the Thin Thinking podcast. Maybe we'll have you back after your cruise, and you can give us some pointers there too. We
thank
have
you,
a
Rita.
we have a number of members who have been on some cruises. Maybe we have to have a cruise panel on managing cruise food.
Mary, thank you so much for coming on. I loved it. And you were so organized with all of your tricks and tactics and such good stuff. Just really, really good. And I just had such joy listening to you about your Airstream and traveling around. Oh, that's so good. So, just a reminder to my friends out there, share this episode with a travel buddy who wants to get healthier. I am sure they will thank you. Have a great week, and remember that the key, and probably the only key, to unlocking the door of the weight struggle is inside you. So keep listening and find it. I will see you here next week. Thanks for listening to the Thin Thinking Podcast. Did that episode go by way too fast for you? If so, and you want to dive deeper into the mindset of long-term weight release, head on over to www.shiftweightmastery.com. That's www.shiftweightmastery.com, where you'll find numerous tools and resources to help you unlock your mind for permanent weight release, tips, strategies, and more. And be sure to check the show notes to learn more about my book, From Fat to Thin Thinking, Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss, and to learn how to subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode.